Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows is a two-part movie finale to the Harry Potter series. Part 1 and Part 2. It's two movies. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this part thing at all, and I don't like the whole trend that Twilight and Hunger Games and now Divergent and even Avengers are gonna follow this two-part finale movie series thing. Whatever. It's not something I can fault this movie for. Anyway, into the movie. Deathly Hallows is the last part. It's the last book, and it's probably my favorite book of all of them. And these are my favorite movies, honestly. Yeah, the movies are amazing. But anyway, yeah, let's get into them. So the plot of the Deathly Hallows movies is that after, spoilers, Snape killed Dumbledore, Dumbledore left Harry with the wish of finding the rest of the Horcruxes, which are basically these little items that contain a part of Voldemort's soul in them. And Harry, Ron, and Hermione have to find them and destroy them in order to truly destroy Voldemort once and for all. And, these Horcruxes include several things. They found them and they have to go find them. And because of this, they're dropping out of Hogwarts and they're running around. They're on the run from everyone because the Death Eaters, they've infiltrated the Ministry of Magic and taken it over. They've infiltrated Hogwarts and pretty much they're running it now. They pretty much made Harry public enemy #1, and now everyone's looking for them. And there are a few really good wizards left out there, because everything has been corrupted. Like the Ministry runs this pure blood only thing, which is the original intention of Salazar Slytherin, which Voldemort is the descendant and heir of. And because he only wanted pure bloods, no Muggle-born mud blood is what the thing calls them. And they're really anti that. Like there's just one scene where you can see that when they're in the Ministry, and yeah. That's basically the setup to part 1. The second part basically just focuses on the trio returning to Hogwarts to find the last of the Horcruxes and finish off Voldemort. That's basically it. That's all I'm going to say. Wow, these movies are great. Part 1 is awesome. Once again, the same cast, returns. Everyone's there. Mainly in part 2 is, I watched both these movies back to back because, it's one big long movie to me. Like, probably, I bet if, Lord of the Rings Return of the King came out and this time it'd be a two-parter, because I can hear the extended edition's 4 hours long. It's pretty ridiculous. But anyway, this movie, with part 1, does a really good job. Both these movies are really different movies from the last 6, because, again, in part 1, they're on the run, so they're camping out in the woods a lot, they're not in, the safety of Hogwarts Castle. They're pretty much fending for themselves. And, they really just have to run around. They go based on where they have leads to go to, find the Horcruxes. If they ever find a lead, they go there. And, it doesn't always work out. A lot of people are corrupt now, so they'll sell them out to the Death Eaters. It's really cool, and I really like seeing that. The action has reached a peak in, so far. The action in 7 Part 1 is awesome. When they're running from the Death Eaters and the casting of spells, it's a lot of it. And it's really good. I feel that Half-Blood Prince lacked a lot of, but Deathly Hallows Part 1, it's got a lot of it. It's really awesome to look at. All of this is topped off with beautiful cinematography that looks so good. It's such a well-filmed movie. And the soundtrack, oh, the soundtrack is so good! Literally, especially Part 2. Part 2, the soundtrack was just oh, this is so good. This is so good! I love this soundtrack! And it's great. It's so awesome. Both movies are so well filmed. The action is incredible, especially Part 2 also. I'll just say Part 2 I like more than Part 1. Part 2 is my favorite Harry Potter movie. Part 2 is so good. The action was so breathtakingly awesome. When they're battling in Hogwarts and, Professor McGonagall's carving up these stone statues and all the teachers are casting the barriers to defend the castle. It's so good. And, everything. All the people running and all that stuff, all the fights. It's so well done. The action is incredible. If any of you have seen, Chris Stuckman's The Problem with Action Movies Today, these movies, they do great with that cliche. It's done. There's nothing in there. There's a lot of moments where you feel the characters, they're in peril, they might die. It does great. They're so well filmed. There's no shaky cam. And it looks so good. They're vulnerable. They're really good. The camera work is so good. The action is great. These are the most action-packed movies because there's no real sense of security. Because again, the Ministry of Magic, Hogwarts, it's all fallen. It's all the Death Eaters. The only good wizards left, they have to defend for themselves. And it's really, really good. And I love the constant feeling of finding the Horcruxes. Because even when they find a Horcrux, they can't destroy it so easily. They have to have, some really deadly item to do so, like the Basilisk Fang, because Chamber of Secrets, Tom Riddle's diary, that was a Horcrux. And in the Half-Blood Prince, we saw that Marvolo's ring, which is Voldemort's father's ring, that was also a Horcrux, which Dumbledore managed to destroy also, by similar means. I don't quite know how he did so, but yeah, you know, you see, like, one of the Horcruxes, you know, they find the Sword of Gryffindor in Part 1, and they use it to destroy stuff. And I really like that. The acting is so good, and the characters, they have reached their peak. The acting, it's so good. It's really, really good acting. It's really good. Like, these guys, I just can't see anyone else playing Harry, Ron, Hermione, or anyone else. These people are perfect. They are Harry, Ron, and Hermione, even though they can't really do magic in real life. Oh well, I don't care. It's so good either way. They're really awesome. Like, I love all the characters. Like, Harry, you know Harry, he's got this overbearing weight where he's like, he is the chosen one. He's going to destroy Voldemort. But, you know, he has this weight on him, and he knows what he's got to do. He's really cool, and he's really got to do it. And, you know, Hermione is awesome. Hermione is awesome. Like, nice job. I'm repeating myself. It doesn't matter. Hermione is really cool. Like, she knows everything, and she's brilliant, you know, with all the magic spells she knows, and getting out of the situations. It really works well. Like, she's a really awesome character, and I like that. Like, she's not some weeping, sobbing damsel in distress. She knows what to do. She's strong and excellent. And Ron is really cool, too. Like, I already talked about in one of the earlier reviews how, like, Ron is this underdog. You know, he really has to deal with that in this one. Because it's Harry who's the important one. And now Ron is tailing because he wants to help him. And there's one point in Part 1 where he realizes he's fed up with everything. He doesn't want to be part of it because it's such a ludicrous idea of a mission. But he realizes that it's him, he's his friend, and really, it's only them. They're the only people who can do it. And he comes back later and he helps destroy the Horcrux, and it's awesome. I love it. I love that. And the characters are awesome. Part 2, Neville Longbottom. Oh my. This guy, his time to shine. He's got it. Like, literally, he is the wielder of the Sword of Gryffindor. Not Harry, Neville. Neville is the guy who wields the Sword of Gryffindor. Like, he is awesome with that thing. And he's brave in this one. He's not this clumsy kid anymore. He grew a lot in 5, but this one, he's really got his time to shine, and he's awesome in Part 2. Like, he deserves that poster of him, which I believe he has. He's, like, really awesome in this one, and he's not afraid to stand up to Voldemort and give a speech in front of everyone when all hope is lost. It's really cool. You know, Luna's pretty cool too. You know, and you see Luna's dad in Part 1 and how, you know, Luna was actually taken away, and, you know, he's willing to do anything to get her back. You know, I see good in that guy's character. So, you know, he has good reasons. And Ginny is pretty cool too. The romance between Harry and Ginny in this one, I like it a lot too. Sorry. Yeah, I like it in this one, because, you know, there was a lot of it in the last one, but I think, you know, Harry and Ginny have great chemistry, and they really work well together. Like, you know, they have really different missions, and Harry, you know, he knows he probably won't be able to see Ginny, but, you know, he has to fulfill his mission, and you know, he still likes her and wants to succeed and stuff. And, you know, Ginny's really awesome, too, because she was part of Dumbledore's army also, and she really kicks butt in this one. And, you know, also see Molly Weasley, this one point in Part 2, like, she's fighting off Bellatrix, and it's awesome. And she has one of my favorite lines in the entire movie, where, like, Bellatrix attacks Ginny, and then Molly Weasley, their mother, just comes and says, "Not my daughter, you!" Curse word. This is a family show. Yeah, that was awesome. That was pretty cool, too. And wow, this movie is also really emotional. Like, Part 1 had some really emotional moments, like when Harry and Hermione went to, like, Harry's hometown to visit, like, their parents' grave and stuff. That was pretty cool. But the second movie, Part 2, oh, I like, cried a few times. Like, before the final confrontation, this one scene where, like, Harry sees something, I'm not going to say what it is, spoilers, like, it's just, I was, like, almost crying in that scene. Like, I was tearing up. It was just so emotional. And I just really couldn't believe it. Like, this has some of the most effective shots ever. It conveys such well emotion by showing, not telling. It's so good in that regard, and I really like it. It was so emotional. It was so well done. I applaud this movie for doing that. Just bravo. Just, whoa. Part 1 had really cool parts. The only thing about Part 1 is there's no real ending to it because, again, it's you know, it's build up to part 2, which was awesome. And, you know, I don't really fault part 1 for doing that, because it's one movie, you know, in general. It's just been split up into 2 parts because it's too long. And I guess, even though Return of the King was an Oscar winner for Best Picture, I guess, I don't know. Not sure why they did that here. But whatever, you know, I don't really mind that they split it up. It really works well either way, and I like it. Like, part 1 had some really awesome moments, too. They're running away, they're being chased, and they have some really emotional moments. Like, every single character from the series who's still alive has their time to shine in Deathly Hallows. Like, they appear, they do stuff, you know, like Dobby in part 1. Like, Dobby returns, he's really cool. Dobby is awesome in this one, in that one. He's great, and it's really sad, you know, what happens. I'm not going to quite spoil it, but, you know. And I already talked about, like, Neville and Luna. Luna's pretty cool also, Ginny. And, you know, Draco Malfoy. Like, you know, you can see that Draco Malfoy, like, he's been pressured to be a Death Eater, but after this one moment in part 2, like, he's kind of conflicted in whether or not he should be part of Voldemort's army and Death Eaters and stuff. He's like, Harry saves him at some point, and, you know, there's this one part where it's like, you know, he's not really that bully antagonist guy anymore. He's, like, really deep in, like, what he wants and what he doesn't. And it's really, really cool to see Malfoy do that stuff. And, you know, you still hate Bellatrix Lestrange. You still hate her, especially this one thing she does in part 1. It's really annoying. I really don't like them. And you also see Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour from the Goblet of Fire. They kind of get married in the part 1, and, you know, the marriage is a pretty big part of it. And you can see that. They go to the wedding. And it's pretty cool. And, you know, as for the book-to-movie transition, because it's a 2-parter, they put nearly everything. There hasn't been this good as a book-to-movie transition since the first 3, I feel. Like, they did such a good job. Because this movie, they knew it was going to be long, so they made it a 2-parter. They did such a good job. They didn't take stuff out. They put everything they could into it, and it worked so well in the end. This thing is just so good. Part 2 is great. The only real negative thing I can say about Part 1 is that it ends kind of on a cliffhanger and you want to see more. That's the only real problem I have with Part 1. Part 2, it's like I can hardly find anything wrong with Part 2. Like, as a whole, and if you watch it as one movie, I hardly have any problems with it. It's so good. It's such a great conclusion. Everyone has their time to shine. It's so well shot. It's so good action. Like, everything about this movie is great. I can hardly say anything bad about it. It's so good. Like, as a whole, the Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows, as a whole, is probably one of my favorite movies ever. Like, I saw both these movies when they came out in theaters, and I loved them there, and I love them now. There's such little I can say that's bad about them, except for the whole 2-part stuff, but that's not the movie's fault, because it had to be like that, or else it would be like 4 or 5 hours long. But I'm perfectly fine with that, honestly. I mean, if they make both Infinity Wars Part 1 and Part 2 Avengers movies like 4 hours long, I'll be fine with that. So as long as I can see Iron Man and Rocket Raccoon go at it. You want that too, don't you? You want that. But regardless, I love this movie so much. Everything. Just, it's so good. I love Part 1 and Part 2 were great. So I'm just going to individually score them and then just score them all together. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 gets a 97%. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 gets my first 100%. And as a whole, it's a 100% movie. Because when you combine it, it's 100%. It's just so good. What a great conclusion to a great series. I love these movies so much. And yeah, Deathly Hallows stuff, especially Part 2, is one of my favorite movies ever now. Yep. I should probably... I wonder if I can get a poster of that. That would be cool. Got me an Interstellar poster, like right here. You can't really see it, can you? But whatever. I don't care. Great movies, and I love talking about these Harry Potter movies with everyone. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching this, and next time I'll be back to review something else. So, adios, home slices. And now, what spell should I try? I don't want to kill you all with the Avada Kedavra spell, so... Stupefy! Still nothing. Oh well. Adios.